Word. All right. I like how it tells you recording in progress. I always forget that it's gonna say that, and I'm like, oh shit. You
There
know?
you go. It's official. Episode 2. Welcome back to the OVP podcast, the Odyssey Ventures podcast. Every season, me and Roger are going to bring a product to life and give you the behind the scenes. Last episode, we talked about seetask, and at the same time, kind of brought in the elements of starting a podcast and everything that goes into that. So that episode is live on Spotify for Friends or whatever it's called. We chose the cheapest option. What is it called
It's
on
called
Spotify?
podcast for Spotify or Spotify for
Yeah,
podcast. One or the
there you
other.
go. There, it's a longer version of Spotify, but I think you can just find it on the regular Spotify too. But I guess
Yeah.
the entrance is that one. But yeah, super scrappy, doing everything for as free or as cheap as possible. Task is our first season baby. Pretty much a personal project management system. It'll give you nudges. It'll keep you on track. It'll give you templates and ideas on how to execute. And also, if you're over the project that you're working on, it'll give you an out, or you can do a buy now kind of button to get an expert to just knock it out for you. Everything is user friendly and kind of AI generated. And let's see what else. Yeah, so that's pretty much a recap of episode 1. Today we're talking about building a team because now that we know what the product is and the direction we want to go, what do we need for the rest of the season to get us to the finish line? That's what we're talking about. Roger, what are your thoughts so far on this episode?
Yeah, even though Ed gave an amazing recap of episode one, still go watch it. Also, are you on social? I don't even know. Like for me, like a shameless plug, real_bullish, basically stock twits and Twitter. I think Instagram as well. I'm actually locked out of my Instagram, but go follow socially, definitely. Are you on social media? I don't even
Yeah, always editing. So follow me there.
I like it.
We'll
I
drop
like it.
we'll drop the tags in the description bar so you can always swing by and check
Okay,
us
so
out
we
in
need
real
to
life.
make clue bomb noises and tags. All
Yes,
right,
sir.
drop
For now,
drop
I
one of
mean
clues bombs for
self-generate.
Ed. Yeah,
Episode 2 self-generated. One day we'll
this
have the budget for the real thing.
this is like your flu game. Like
This is my flu game.
this is your flu game. So
I don't
like
know if you can hear it or see it, but I'm
I
fucking
hear it.
sweating
No,
here.
no,
I'm
I
fighting
don't
for my
see
life.
it. I hear it. I hear it's here. Like you got some phlegm. I can hear some inflammation in the throat, and you're doing it though. And I really appreciate that. I know this is episode two, as you mentioned. Still early on, and we're kind of figuring out what the layout, what the format's going to be. Trying to do it as scrappy as we can, and that's the theme of what we want to do, right? We want to do more with less, and that's kind of like here we're using free Spotify. We're using, this is the free version of Zoom. So when it kicks us off, we're done. We got a one and done thing. It's not like we can there's no one editing our stuff. And I think that's just kind of like what we want to do. We want to go from zero to something in X amount of time. So, episode two. And I think that like each season right now is gonna have roughly, I'm trying to look back in the notes, but like 10. So we're like 20% at the end of this, we're 20% done with the season one, So we're making some great progress. Even though it's only episode two, we are 20% done at the end of this. So, next is 30%. So we're definitely making some headway. And I think you already kind of covered it, but we want to really talk about kind of like, and this is definitely for me, I think we talked about it before. The more like the thing I think I have, or the topic I have to like give the least with, so it's your food game, you're gonna have to carry us, but like building a team. And for me, I always think, and I'm an it's an ambivert, I think. Like I'm an extra, like I'm both. I'm an introvert and extrovert. So for me, building a team or talking about a team or bringing on a team or talking to people that I don't know or ask, someone at the gym says, "Hey, have a great workout," and I'm like, "You too," and they're like, they work there, So that's where I'm coming with talking to people. So it's definitely out of my element, but I think that we could talk about some topics that can help people maybe that are in that same boat that are like, I love people, but also from a distance. Like I was socially distancing before they said it was something to do, but I'm really excited to kind of talk to you because I do see you as like, and I've seen it before. We don't have to go into it now, but I've seen it in the wild where I've sat back and I've watched you work a room, and I was just kind of like in awe, like, damn, like you can just go and do it. And I was always like, damn, I wish I could do that, but I'm kind of like chilling, like wallflowering, So, but I think, you know, what team means is subjective to what you're doing and what the intention is. Um, So with that being said, building a team, man, how do you think about it? I guess,
Mm. So first of all, I find it so strange that you classify yourself as someone that's like kind of has trouble with the reaching out to people kind of part, because you're obviously an amazing speaker. You convey messages really well. But it's true, like you not everyone needs to be an extrovert to have an idea and launch it and share it, but you definitely need to have the skill of just like being curious to get information from
Sure.
people and then being passionate about your ideas to get information to people. I think that's kind of the two building blocks. And so maybe take it as a sign, like to really research and know your product inside out. That way, when it's time to talk about it, you're excited to talk about it. You got a lot to say, and you can be engaging. But at the same time, too, you got to be wary of just like information and like you know, just dumping information on folks. Um, so you got to kind of learn how to read the room, read your audience. Everyone's different. There's gonna be some people who lean in, ask a bunch of questions. There's gonna be some people who you're gonna have to pull a little bit. And everyone's different. And I think everything at the end of the day, whether you're skilled or not skilled, or practice or not practiced, because that's everything. Everything's just a practice or not practice situation.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I,
just
I
comes down
think
to exposing yourself to those situations and getting more and more reps in.
I really appreciate that, and I think the last thing you said, reps. First of all, I really appreciate like you kind of like saying like, hey, about conversations like that. Like and that's the thing about me. Like I enjoy talking, and I say nothing a lot. But also like I had like a really bad like speech impediment, and not even growing up. Like it wasn't when I was a kid. I got that shit when I was like in my early adults. So I realized that like my mouth moved faster than my brain, and that's still kind of something that I do now. Like I like struggle with still is like, especially when I get excited about something, I'll talk so fast, and I have to remind myself. One person that I want to, I mean, politics aside, like I love and I want to continue to like study speech, like great speech givers. Like Barack Obama. Like
Let's
that
say you
was
talking Obama or you're talking Trump. Who's your
yeah.
speech
I
giver?
mean, they both have their own.
Trump can ramble and keep you engaged.
Man, he
He could
can
take you
ramble
down
with the
the
best of them,
yeah,
and then he can vibe. Like that guy can like just stand there for 45 minutes and just like,
put some jams on.
like I appreciate that. But that's one thing I need to like try to study and do. But to your point of like repetitions, like sometimes even if I'm like in the car or like in my office or something like that, I'll practice what I'm gonna say for something like tomorrow. Like I know I have a meeting tomorrow or something like that. I'll kind of practice what I know I want to say. So when it's game time, I already kind of have those kind of like blocks filled in. And then it's almost like muscle memory. I was in the Marine Corps for 5 years. One thing we do, you practice the little things like, pretend this is a magazine, taking the magazine out and putting it into your own weapon. And you do that hundreds, maybe thousands, tens of thousands of times, in a week sometimes. And that way, when you're in combat or when you're stressed, that muscle memory, those fast twitch are just like bam, bam, in and out. So that's kind of like how I look about it to your point of repetitions. But no, no, but with that being said, I do see the value of a team and having a team, and even if it's a small team, like I think of us as a team, like we're a team of two. We were at one point a team of four. With the original OP Odyssey Partners, thing. Maybe we'll get to that stage again, but right now we're a team of two. So I think that it's okay to add and subtract to your team, and you can also be a team of one. One thing I did want to talk about was kind of like artificial intelligence and kind of like how that can be and has been for me an important team member that you can add without breaking the bank. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and on the terms of like a lot of people, I know a lot of people who practice like the night before, or like in their car before, or even rehearse phone calls. I
Hmm.
am the complete opposite. If I practice, I get psyched out about the
Oh yeah.
script, and then I can't be loose and free and as engaging as I can, because I go back to like, oh no, I don't want to waste the time that I used practicing, so let me stick to the script. And so we'll go down mentally bullet point one, bullet point two, and
Mm,
round three and four, I start losing track, and I'm like, oh
I
shit,
get
and I
you.
start yeah. So there's just a reminder, everyone's different, things work
Everybody.
for different people, so don't be afraid to try the practice and kill and drill,
Oh
stuff, and
yeah.
don't be afraid to just go out there and wing it. That
Oh
might
yeah.
be, and you need practice in both, because at the end of the day, someone might just show up and start asking you questions, and you're not going to always be well rehearsed, so you gotta practice both. And then sometimes there's pitches and stuff like that. Those are things that you do want to execute. Those are things that you want to have answers to ready, in the tuck at all times.
Did the hand raising work?
The hand worked, man.
So we were figuring out our rapport on Rat-a-tat, but I wanted to kind of just interrupt you there because I think that like when you were saying that, when I've seen you engage in public, like with people like obviously you didn't know, you were just kind of like stepping in net new to a situation. I don't know if you listen to jazz like Coltrane or anything a lot. I love jazz.
Improv, baby.
And exactly. It's that and no jazz, like they're just it's like a snowflake, right? Like when you just kind of get in there and you rapport and you fucking you scat, they call it scatting or whatever. I think I'm not I
Yeah,
don't
that's
play an
exactly what it is.
instrument.
Scat. Yeah.
Yeah, and like they're just kind of like what you see there in the moment is never going to be there again because they're just kind of moving with whatever the music is or the tempo is or the vibe is. And I think that's the best way I can explain you working or you kind of like doing your thing, in a crowd. It's just like you're going by whatever. Oh, I see you have that. Oh, this is this, and I really appreciate that because in my mind, when I go up and I'm introducing myself to somebody, I'm practice like I think I'm practicing it in my head like 3 or 4 times. And then when I get there, I hope that it's something like that. But because I've said it in my mind 3 or 4 times, oh, like your shoes, it comes out like that versus like, oh, I have the blues, like I like your shoes, I have the blues. Like they're very like either of those things are kind of like things that I could say at that moment. But I've actually tried to be a little bit more like that. And we can kind of go into it when we talk about kind of like where you can go to kind of build teams and how and those approaches. But like I've kind of like seen that like there's room for that as well. And I'm being more comfortable in being uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
That's the key to growth. Just the key to learning and the key to just being motivated through the bad reps. Just wanting to have that growth mindset and keep on pushing. Roger's doing a great job building me up here, building my self-esteem on a Thursday evening.
All
But
true.
what I will say, one thing about me that I guess surprises people is that when I do kind of get in the zone and rhythm of like communicating with strangers or doing something, I'm blacking out. Like I go somewhere and I come back afterwards and I'm just like, "Yeah, I guess that went well. You know, I always try, but there are certain weaknesses to my game. Like I can never remember names. So at the end of
I'm
conversations,
horrible with names.
I get my iPhone note out and I'm like, "What's your name again?" And I write it down. I literally put it on the table like, "Hey, because I suck at names, so I'm gonna write your name down." And then I remember that name forever. It might be awkward for a little bit, but the important thing is that you're also showing that you care enough to get their name down and get it right. That's important when you're networking. You never know when you're gonna bump into this person again. And that person be like, "Hey, that guy wanted like took the steps to intentionally remember me."
Yeah.
And you just never know. So that's one of my things. I black out, but I make sure I go back and I leave some breadcrumbs for myself.
I am horrible with names, man. Names, even if you tell me 10 times, I'm not gonna remember. But I'm a fucking fiend with faces. Faces that I haven't seen in forever. Like, you ever watch a movie like, that, like,
Oh
I
yeah,
just saw that Dawn of the Dead is a thing, and I was like, oh, that's Ving Rhames. Oh, it's Mekhi Phifer. Like, that movie's like
yeah.
70,000 years old. But, anyways,
Everyone's in it.
exactly. So, but I'm horrible with names. So and it might come off when I do it as a little bit dickish, but that's the way I do it. Is I can remember places pretty well. So, as an example, like I was at this conference, a couple weeks ago, and there was just a guy there. I was chatting him up. We were chatting. We were just standing in line, talk, and then we just struck up a conversation organically. I didn't remember his name at all. Could have been Richard. It could have been David. It could have been fucking I don't know, Freud. I don't know, but I remembered his face, and I saw him later at the bar. And this was like the next day at night. So, time had passed, but I remembered he was from Sugarland because I told him I was from Houston. And he was like, "Oh, I'm from Houston." I was like, "Oh, what part?" He was like, "Oh, Sugarland." I was like, First of all, I'm like, bro, I ain't fucking Houston, but whatever, like,
Right.
okay,
Tell
you're
them.
you're from Houston. So later on, I saw him at the
What's the
bar.
envelope say? If the envelope says Sugarland, it's not Houston.
Exactly. We were both kind of a little faded at that point. It was probably 11, 12 at night, the next night. And I was like, "Hey, Sugarland, what's up?" And he just like, all right, we didn't talk or anything, but I think like that, like, it was like a thing. Like like he knew that he's like, "Oh, like damn, you remembered me in a way, Or it was also like, "Hey, get the fuck away from me." Either way, I felt good that I remembered, didn't know his name, remember where he was from. That same thing happened. I met a guy who went to Baylor. And I was like, "Hey, Baylor." I think his name's Juan or something. Don't remember exactly, but I remembered he went to Baylor, and that struck up another conversation later. So I think that whatever is your jam of what you can remember, use that because at least to your point, it shows an effort that this person is trying. All that I think going back to building a team, I want to say is like you can do it different ways. But one of the ways that I found really effective to meet new people is to go out and meet new people, man. And even for someone like me who is a shy, maybe a wallflower, one of the things I loved to do in high school was just like me and my boys in high school, we would just stand in the corner, like just on the wall, and just observe. And I think that that's been one of my most powerful tools with networking is the ability to just observe. And then I can kind of see, okay, they're gravitating that, they're doing this. And then I kind of make my approach to work a room. As an example, the conference I was telling you that I attended, I was kind of just I went by myself. It was a veteran NBA event, so very specific, very, it's a niche group in a niche group. I didn't know anybody there. Just kind of went to be in the room and like enjoy people that are, hey, one, veterans, two, MBAs. Like I just want to be around those people and gravitate toward that. I could have done networking better, but still, one of the things is just being awkward. And I enjoy also being awkward and being in that thing. And I just walked up to two guys who were talking, and I said, hey, like literally, I just leaned into the awkwardness and said, hey, do you mind if I just stand here awkwardly? And they kind of like chuckled and they're like, no, of course not. And it could have been either way. It could have been like, get the fuck is a loser, get the fuck away from me. Or hey, yeah, stand here. And it went toward the latter. And we ended up having a good conversation for about 5 or 10 minutes. And we connected on LinkedIn. We did the whole like, oh, can I get your LinkedIn here? And do the whole thing. So it's take that first step. And these are connections that I've connected with after that, just to say, hey man, like how did that convention go for you? Being earnest, being a little earnest in it in the upfront, but also connecting with them after, I think can be an interesting way to kind of build that network and grow, even if it doesn't feel as organic. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the one thing you're hearing about Rogers, he's really quick to identify his areas of growth, but you also hear that he's willing to try and do things and step out of his comfort
Mm-hmm.
zone and try things. Remember, like at the end of the day, this is your journey.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you're an entrepreneur, you might not have a team, you're going alone. And, feel at peace playing by your own rules, doing whatever works best for you. And you might not know what works best for you until you try all these different types of strategies that Roger's talking about. So, um, like yeah, I commend the effort, man. These are great stories to hear, and it's exciting to have you as a partner on the team. And then talking about you brought up partners earlier, like we used to be a team of four, but then we kind of had a restructure, and it's okay if people in your life are just there for cameos throughout the journey. They don't have to be
Perfect.
there full time. They don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be there full time. They can just be there for their, expertise drop, get them for one episode, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, quick call. Hey, what do you think? Quick feedback, that kind of thing. You don't need to shove it down everyone's throats, and you don't need everyone to be your biggest cheerleader all the way to the finish line. You just kind of need a little touch point with everybody along the way just to kind of practice that skill. Um, but yeah, just remember that too. Like, not you might be on this journey alone, and it's going to require you to go meet some people you don't know yet.
Man,
So all these strategies, all this like sticking your neck out there and trying new things was where you start to build that team if you don't already have the team.
I will say though that with that, like, yeah, man, I've done things, I built stuff alone, and it's kind of like it is great, but also I feel like I work my best when I have like a small team, or someone, and that's why I'm excited with you because it took years to find someone who's like, okay, let's do this journey, and that's okay. I think that like people like talk about luck and stuff like that, but I think that luck is like a combination of like preparation and opportunity. Like a great thing can pop up, but you're not prepared for it, so you're not going to take that, or it's not going to go anywhere. Or you can have the luck and you're not prepared, like that. You have to have both, the preparation and the opportunity. And I think that's what people are like, oh, you're lucky, you're all this, and you can feel lucky, but really it's those, to me, it's those two things. And I pushed things along by myself for a while. I had my own, well, I still do, I don't do it as much anymore. It just changed the format. My own YouTube show, I had 50 episodes under my belt. I did 49 of those alone.
Cranking them
And
out.
it was fun. I still love doing it, and I think I've been trying to think about ways how I can like redo that. But doing it by yourself, it is lonely, but also it can be good. But also there can be something said for building a team. Even if it's a small team, or maybe your team is AI, or maybe your team is someone who sees a certain vision, with you that you can kind of like, go towards. And I think that both of those things are great in their own ways. For sure.
Yeah, Roger has a good point about luck. And a lot of these stories, if you go research your favorite company or your favorite entrepreneurs, luck plays a part,
Huge.
and them just being ready for the day that the luck showed up.
Got to be
So you got to
ready.
make sure you're ready for the luck, make sure you're developing skills, because you don't know what kind of opportunity it's going to be. Could be a chance on a podcast, could be a radio show, could be a video, could be just a random interview, could be, all sorts of stuff. But talking about the team, these are skills
Yep.
you're going to need if you don't have the team. What's the team? Why do we need a team? Aren't you doing this alone kind of thing? Yeah, you are, but there's certain aspects and elements of being an entrepreneur that you're not going to have. And
Hmm.
so for those things, you're going to reach outside of yourself or make some contacts or research and learn these things yourself. So this is like we're going on a journey. We're going on a hike, and you don't want to be too far into the hike and realize you forgot to pack a flashlight because it
Yeah,
got
I
late on
love
you.
it.
You don't want to do that. And then again, we're scrappy, we're minimal, so we're not going to REI and dropping the budget. What we're doing is back of the closet. What can we use?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good way to start. So as far as this season, some of the people we're going to need are maybe a developer. Maybe that's
Hmm.
something we do in-house because we have to tangibly make an item at some point. We have to make a product. Marketing. I mean, luckily we have Roger. Roger, that's his bread and butter. So we're gonna have that. But if I didn't have Roger, if we didn't have Roger, what would we do? You might have to YouTube some stuff. You might have to Google some stuff. Operations. When you put together your pitch deck and you're pitching the financial viability of a company, what's your burn rate? What are you spending? You need to know these answers because just saying you got Uber doesn't mean anything. How much money do we need to run this Uber? Is your number that you're asking for realistic based off of what the day-to-day looks like? You might need to reach out to somebody to see how that looks like, or just make it up on your own. Financials, again, the nitty gritty of those numbers. What are your projections? Usually on these pitch decks, we're talking a 3-year plan, 5 years, maybe 10 years, depending on your exit strategy. So, these are important things to know. Again, you might not know all this, but you can build a team. You can talk to people. And you can always talk to other entrepreneurs to see how they did these things too. Don't let that be a stopping point where you can't meet a developer. Go find a developer. You go to these events, see what developer this other entrepreneur has used, and to see if you can get a quick 10-minute call. Um, sometimes we want to set up the call for 10 minutes just to see if they're willing to talk to us. Make that the call. Ask all your questions. Get out the way. You don't know if you're going to get on this person's radar again. And then again, we're going free and scrappy. So, Roger's really good at pulling resources. I just added that to the list while he was talking because he's so good at finding resources in the scrappy free department. Half of this project is a lot of this project, not even half, more, a lot of this project is done from a lot of the resources that Roger's pulling. And the more free stuff you do, the more money you have to spend on the stuff that you really got to spend on. So that's such an asset there. I mean, you might not have a Roger, so you got to be the Roger and just go out there and Google some stuff. Okay, like I'm bumping into this wall, designing this one part. Are there any free design tools for this? The more specific you can be in Google, the better. The better it's going to give you an answer. Um, let's see. And then again, a lot of founders, they wear multiple hats. So don't be afraid to do a lot of different things. You might come from a job where you delegate a lot. You might not have that opportunity in this situation. So don't be afraid to get your hands dirty, learn some stuff. I mean, I heard something really cool the other day saying like rejection is awesome. Like, because every rejection leads you closer to where you got to be. And it's like, well, what if I told you your fifth business is going to be the one that turns you into, a success? You'll be so eager to get rid of rejections and failures 1, 2, 3, and 4 to get to that fifth one. So you got to just dive in and just start practicing and learning these skills because those skills might be fully developed by the time you need them for business number 5. Um,
For sure.
and then as far as meeting people, I'm gonna kick it off to Roger here because he's really good at pulling resources and pulling mixers and events that you can potentially meet and practice meet people and practice these people skills at. Um, but the old school ways too. You got LinkedIn, you got your own social media platform. You'll be surprised who the people you already know. Just throw it out there. Hey guys, I'm working on this. Does anyone know a graphic designer? Does anyone know someone who has experience with this or that in this industry, that industry? And might get crickets, but you might also get somebody who says, "Oh yeah, my buddy John. Talk to John." Bam, contact. So yeah, Roger. What about other places we can go to just? be around like-minded people.
Yeah, I think it's really up to you to kind of find that and the way that I find things, and I find things and sometimes I'm not the best at following through with them, but I definitely want to be. But one of the things that like I've found that's been pretty effective is just like whatever industry that you're interested in, kind of align yourselves to that, you know. And I'll kind of I'll share my screen real quick, and I think we learned a little bit of a lesson from the last time. Oh man, it's saying that we need to features. So okay, we're gonna get out of time real soon, so I'll just do this real quick. Like, hey, that's part of being scrappy. Sometimes you get kicked off of stuff, but basically, one thing that I found was, can you see my screen? Is it like my main
Yeah, I
screen?
can see it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so one thing that I follow is, and it's about like kind of like you got to follow what you want to do, right? And so one of the podcasts that I really love, and I think I sent this to you like at 4 in the morning when I was working
You
out,
did.
like a
That's a
fucking
that was
asshole,
a
right?
passion
My
send right
bad.
there. That was a passion
Yeah,
share.
sorry about that. That's sometimes I do my bit, and it's about finding out when you do your most creative work. For me, it's like that 4 to 6 when I'm in the gym, and my mind can just be like loose. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to think about work. I don't think about
No
anything. I
distractions,
can
no one
just
else around.
exactly, man. I'm like Trump on that stage, just vibes, bro. I'm
There
just
you go.
fucking in there.
YMCA.
I'm in here
Young
in that
man.
bitch. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But one thing I was listening to a podcast, and they talked about the innovation awards in Houston. We're local to Houston, so I sent it to you. I was like, hey man, maybe we think about going to this to be flies. And if it's just being wallflowers in the room, we're in the room with people that are not just like innovators building things, but they're like the top startups of Houston. You know what I'm saying? So just being in there, if we both talk to 5 people, that's 10 people we talk to. We get one person on LinkedIn, and we just pull up our phone and look weirdly and say, hey, can I connect with you on LinkedIn? That's 2 people out of the both of us that we can connect with after and have a conversation with. And it's like a numbers game. It's like you're on Tinder, or it's like you're dating, right? You got to shoot shots. And the same with interviewing, and I relate those the same way. Interviewing, dating, this dry networking, you have to do it 100 times. You have to go out there and shoot your 3%. You know what I'm saying? Because those are the numbers that are gonna happen. 97% of people are gonna look at you fucking crazy. That's okay. You don't want to talk to them necessarily. It's that 3% that are gonna give you something, or a connection, or something down the line to connect with them earnestly. As long as you do it from a place of empathy and compassion. You can't go in there like an a-hole. You got to go in there wanting to learn, asking them questions. Hey, I'm interested in you. And that's kind of what I said. You have to be in the room. You know what I'm saying? And this is part of it. It's finding those rooms to be in. And that's an example of it for me.
That's great. I mean, just Google searching. Would you find this on Eventbrite or Facebook or something like that?
This was
Or
just a podcast. The I think it was the Houston, it says it somewhere on here, the Innovation Map, podcast. They have like 300 episodes. It was just one of the episodes on there where they talked about these awards. And I mean, I'm gonna go to it, for sure. Well, how successful it is, I don't know. And you have to, for this one specifically, it's like $60 to sit down there, but that's okay. Like those are kind of things you have to kind of pay sometimes just to be there. There are free ones too. And one thing I wanted to show was basically, also in Houston, they have what they call the Ion. And a lot of the major cities have these kind of like hubs, tech hubs. And these are things that we went to for free. I think we even got free drinks from there a couple times, where you just go to some of these events, that they have, oh, I want to go to, a happy hour, that they're gonna host here, at a pitch session. All right, let's go and let's see kind of what they have there. And those are the things, whether it's free or paid, just show up. And that's the thing, is just show up and be in the room, and you'd be surprised what can happen for you just doing that. Those two little things: show up, sign up, and be in the room. And great things can happen, as if you keep that consistency, or non-consistency, I guess, too, sometimes.
it's like being a musician and you get to go to the Grammys and just hang out, making
I got my
contacts,
picture on the
being around your
carpet.
people. Exactly.
And, and,
It's
and
like
that can be the
that's
case too. You go here, you take a cool photo with that, and you post it to the gram. Because obviously social media is real life, right? It's not. It's what you want to show it. So maybe you go to one of these events, and you're looking all dapper, or beautiful in your stuff, and you go and you take a picture next to the innovation awards. Hey, I made it. And you post that, and then someone, I guarantee, is gonna see it and be like, wow, like, okay, cool, like I'm inspired a little bit. And I didn't actually think that was a thing until I really started posting about investing and doing my podcast and stuff. People that I hadn't talked to in years were like, "Oh man, you invest?" Like, what's the first step, you know? And that's exactly what I did it for, is to one, be good at it or get better at it, not be good at it, get better at it for myself, make myself honest and do it, but also like kind of, not to say like, I guess like get other people interested in it, but show people that there's a route to that, you know? And those little things I think can go a long way. So, I'm just gonna say, be in the room, sign up. Maybe you sign up for 10, you only go to 3. That's still good. You're batting 30%. You go into those 3 events within, a month or 2 months. And then of those events, make an earnest attempt to one, be a wallflower, maybe observe, but then go out of your element and introduce yourself to some people. I think, and this is the thing that I always see for myself, is that I never get like an asshole, like, and maybe it's because I'm very selective because I'm kind of already kind of aware who's there. But like, if you spend the time and you do it, I think more times than not, you're going to get a good experience out of it. And if you don't, you can reflect on that later, and say, okay, why was that not? What could I have done differently, So, those are my kind of things there, and then again, you have, and then more, also important, super important, follow up after, even if it's a LinkedIn message. Hey, it was great meeting you. Can we have a coffee chat in the future? That's the kind of like little things that you can do to show, to like push that to now being someone that you can connect to your circle. Hey, can I have a 15-minute coffee chat? Whatever is convenient for you. That's also very hard. Actually, last thing, one of my good friends told me, and he's really good at networking, man. He's so good at it. He has a spreadsheet of everyone that he's met, basically where he's met them from, and just little notes about them, and then follow-up items in like a spreadsheet. And I thought that was such a smart idea to do that I haven't done yet, but I really want to, because I think then you have a database of all the people where you connected, what you want to talk to them about, and I think that is really a really fun idea to do.
You said a lot of great stuff. And I'm going to go backwards. The follow up is so important.
So
Remember,
important.
you're in sales. I mean, if you just do one pitch and then dip, you're not going to go far with that. You do a
Nowhere. It's gonna
pitch,
go
you
nowhere.
follow up. How you doing? Remember me? You're going to be a whole lot more sticky. Sticky is what you need to be. Also, the whole part about like networking and it being like dating, beautiful analogy, because a lot like dating, you need to not take it personal.
No.
Not everyone's for you. You just need to
Mm,
meet the person that you need to meet. And that's not going to happen unless you talk to multiple people. You're not going to get it
exactly.
on your first try unless you're super lucky. And then like as far as like being in the crowd, being in the know, being part of that life, making it your own. Like if you want to start working out, maybe on social media, start following bodybuilders, people who are active, people who
Motivation.
meal prep, people who meal prep. If you're doing that for entrepreneurship, what are you following? People follow people in the industry that your product is in. Follow local organizations that give entrepreneurs resources. Follow the people who are part of those things. Follow the people who follow those things. Like there's a lot of room there for you to meet people and grow. Um, and then I'm calling it right now. Season 2, we're gonna do one episode in the Ion. I don't
Oh,
care
I
if we have to
love
pay
it.
for it, but
Oh, heck
the
yeah.
Ion is such a gem. It's just
Heck
that
yeah.
is just in the backyard. It's brand new, and it's a great a place for the kind of things that we're talking about. You can just go there one night and bump into who knows who, but there'll be somebody who at least shares the passion, is
Hmm.
interested or working on something in an industry that might be parallel or adjacent to what you do. And then last thing, it's yeah, I mean, when you go in these rooms and maybe you're in a t-shirt and next guy is in a suit, button down or something like that, you might get psyched out like, oh, what am I doing here?
Hmm.
Like, remember, we're all on the same journey because he might be looking at the guy who's in the $500 t-shirt.
Yeah.
Like that's who he's trying to talk to.
Yep.
He's over here in a suit, so everyone is if we're in these rooms, if you're in a networking situation in the first place, remember everyone's there for the same reason.
Yep.
So don't feel like anyone's better than anybody. You're not worse than nobody. Everyone's there looking for something. So you got to go in with an open heart for yourself and give yourself grace and go in there and just talk. Last minute. Go for it, Roger.
I love to give yourself grace, but inevitably people are gonna not want to do these things, right? Inevitably people are gonna not want to wrong one to network, right? And that's okay, because I think with AI we have the ability to build our own teams within. And what do I mean by that is, hey, I want to do an interview. I can fake an interview here, like I have ChatGPT up, like, and you can get some synthetic data here to say like I need
Let ChatGPT be
An expert on
your
project.
sparring partner.
Yeah, exactly. And I misspelled that. I get it. I can't spell. But hey, I need an expert on project management. Let's see what it's going to say. Boom. I can now ask you, can I ask you a question? Synthetic data is still data. Now, you still want